Langley here. Thank you so much for checking me out here on the website. I wanted to continue with talking about how to beat burnout and to gain life balance, to get to a place where you can balance life so that you can have your time to enjoy time for yourself, to decompress and to get back to the things that you enjoy, activities that you've done that you enjoy, and even being with the loved ones, the ones that matters most. So, in my last session, I actually took the time to tap into my creative side. It's been so long, and I did a drawing last time, and so I did one more. I'll explain what it is. What do you think? It's supposed to be a brain. I'm going to date myself. It looks like Pac-Man. It may not, but it is your brain. I wrote down A, B, C, D. We'll talk about that a little bit, and I'm in a little bit. But when I was talking in the last session about being a pretty self, desperate self, and a core self, I was talking about how we, as high achievers, we walk away handling so many different things, juggling so many responsibilities, and wearing so many different hats, and trying to make sure that we don't drop anything, never dropping the ball. That is not an option. We have to be on our game at all times. If inevitably we end up dropping something, it is total devastation. It's just too scary of a thought to think of how in the world, what would happen if we were to drop the ball. And oftentimes it's because of past circumstances, situations that really drives us to continue to keep up that pretty self. If anybody were to discover that we're not as at our best, or we're not the way that we present or want people to think that we are, it gets to the place of our desperate selves where we'll perform, we'll deflect, we'll avoid, we'll try to have that person not look at our fallacies or our hang-ups or our flaws. Because if they got that far to see our flaws and able to identify even to the best of our abilities to not let anyone see that, then it gets to our core self. And our core self is the dreaded self. That's the part that we think that it can be you feeling worthless, you feel like you're defected, you're nothing, have no identity. So we try to avoid those areas. But see, I talked about reframe, looking at it differently to get a different result in it. And so I wanted to bring you to the brain and the dot. Everything starts with the way that we think. The way that we think determines how we behave. And so, growing up, we probably had parental objects or parents. We had people who we looked up to, and we looked at, it's called social learning theory or behavioral learning theory, where we look at how these powerful objects in our lives, what are the rewards and the consequences. So, whatever they've done, we're learning and we're patterning after how they behave, how they handle situations. And so it becomes a part of our lives and as we grow up. But there's a core thought that we generated as a child when we've seen our dad and we had such a great relationship, but we saw that he'd done something that resulted in a consequence, or we determined it or concluded that it's a consequence. Or we saw our mom, she's done something that had determined for us that was a reward. So we have a core thought. Here's the challenge. With that core thinking, that seems to drive the way that we operate, the way that we think, the way that we behave, the way that, or even in our lifestyle, we have to be a certain way. We have these unspoken rules that we have generated for ourselves because it depends on the consequence or the reward based on that way of thinking. The challenge is that when you have that core thought that's still there, oftentimes, because of life, it gets cloaked up. We don't even realize that we have a core thought. Then we get to a place where someone challenges it, and it becomes a trigger for us, where they may say, hey, you're not all that like you present yourself to be. And it gets to a point that the more that they keep saying something that's hitting that core thought, it becomes a spiral. It becomes bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, to the point that you hemorrhage. It becomes such a big thing that it hemorrhages. And that's where it becomes a concern in terms of mental and emotional disturbances. What I want to help you with today is to quickly go over the ABC chart. The ABC is, for your homework assignment, I want you to write down situations 2 or 3 situations that you can recall that became a challenge for you, to then go to the B. The B is, what was your thought and what was your feeling based on that situation? And C is the consequence. What was the result of the situation that led to your thought and your feeling, which result in whatever the response was or the behavior? So an example would be, my situation is, I went to the store. That was very epic for me, going to the store, because I usually don't have to go to the store. I have my husband to go to the store. And on my way to the store, which is the B, I saw an ex-friend of mine that was always a bother for me. We never got along, but we were friends, or frenemies. And she knew that I've done something back when we were in college, and she wanted to remind me. Haven't seen her for years, but now she still want to remind me of the thing that I was trying to bury. So my thought was, my feeling was I felt disappointed that she brought it up. My thought was, I will never escape my past. C is that you withdrew. I was withdrawn. I was, I didn't want to be bothered. I was irritable. Those are the reactions from C. So I want you to take the time to look at what causes that hemorrhaging, because of that core thought being the triggers, and because it was agitated by whatever the situation was. I'm saying that you have to look at your A, B, C, D. The A is the situation. I want you to write down two or three situations that that really stand out for you, and then go into B, your thought and your feeling. C is the reaction, but D is the reframe. What could you have done differently now looking back on it, so that now when any time that a situation comes up that it triggers that core thought, you'll now be at a place to reframe, to look at it differently, so that in the end, the more that you practice it, it doesn't affect you. That's what will help you the most in terms of getting to a place of beating burnout and to live a life of balance. Thank you so much. For more information, please check me out, give us a call, sign up for our newsletters at our website,